I've been married to Jessica for 5 years. We had that classic relationship arc, the initial spark, the whirlwind romance, the I can't imagine my life without you phase. It all felt like a fairy tale, but over the last year things had started to shift. I noticed little changes in her, the way she would suddenly seem distant, the late-night work calls that stretched longer than usual, the odd smell of cologne on her shirts that I didn't recognize, even though I'd asked about it before. It felt like I was in a fog and my gut was screaming at me, but I kept pushing those thoughts aside. After all, she was just busy with her job at PRN marketing, right? But the cracks were beginning to show and my mind was racing with confusion. I wanted to trust her, but every time I caught her on her phone, a part of me felt sick. I'd see her texting furiously, her face lit up in the dark, and she would quickly lock her screen the moment I walked in. I would brush it off as nothing more than work stress, but I had to admit I was starting to feel like a stranger in my own home. One Friday evening, I decided to take a more active role in our marriage. I wanted to reconnect, so I planned a nice dinner. I even picked up her favorite wine, but when I got home, she wasn't there. I shot her a quick text, wondering where she was. No response. Hours passed, and just as I was about to call it a night, I heard the door click open. Jessica stumbled in, laughing a little too loudly. I could smell the alcohol from a distance. "Hey, babe. Sorry I lost track of time," she chirped, but the slur in her voice made it clear she wasn't completely sober. I was already feeling that familiar knot in my stomach. I put on a smile and tried to hide my frustration, but her giggling was so out of place. It felt wrong. "Where were you?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. "Oh, just out with the girls, you know how it is," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "We went to that new bar downtown. You should have come." I could see she was trying to appear carefree, but I wasn't buying it. Her eyes darted around, avoiding mine, and that was when I noticed it. A text notification popped up on her phone, lighting up the kitchen counter. A name I didn't recognize, Tom. My heart raced as I caught a glimpse of the message. "Had an amazing time tonight, can't wait to see you again. You make me feel alive." In that moment, it was like someone had punched me in the gut. I stood frozen as the reality settled in. My wife was cheating on me. My world started spinning. It was surreal. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet and anger bubbled up inside of me. I wanted to scream, confront her right then and there, but something stopped me. Maybe it was the hope that I could still be wrong. Maybe it was the fear of what I might hear. I took a deep breath, trying to gather my thoughts. I didn't want to react in the heat of the moment. Instead, I decided I would confront her. I needed to know the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I told myself I would wait until she sobered up, but the rage was building. I could feel it igniting within me, urging me to unleash a storm. When she finally settled on the couch, her eyelids fluttering, I knew it was time. I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Hey, Jess," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can we talk?" Her eyes widened slightly, and I could see her awareness dawning. It was time to rip off the Band-Aid. I needed to expose the truth. I could see the color drain from Jessica's face as she caught the tension in my voice. The air thickened with a mix of dread and anticipation. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, echoing in my ears as I prepared to confront her about the text. "What's wrong, honey?" she asked, trying to sound casual, but there was a shaky undertone to her voice. The bravado she had earlier was gone, replaced by a guardedness that set my teeth on edge. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. "I just want to know who Tom is," I said, my voice firm but controlled. I was surprised at how steady I sounded, given the whirlwind of emotions inside me. Her expression shifted from surprise to irritation in an instant. "Tom, what are you talking about?" she shot back, a defensive edge creeping into her tone. I could see her searching for a way to escape this conversation, but there was nowhere to hide now. "The guy texting you, the one who thinks you make him feel alive," I said, my voice rising slightly. "It's right there on your phone." Her eyes narrowed and she crossed her arms defensively. "You're reading my texts now. That's low even for you." She attempted to deflect, but I could see her scrambling for a lie. "I saw the message, Jessica, just admit it. Are you cheating on me?" I pressed, my heart racing as I demanded the truth. She hesitated, and for a moment I thought she might crack, but then she took a deep breath, plastering on a facade of confidence. "You know how it is, Ben. It was just a little flirtation. It doesn't mean anything. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. Flirtation. I echoed, incredulity spilling from my lips. You call that a flirtation? You're meeting him, aren't you? You're sleeping with him. The finality of my words hung heavy in the air. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. In that split second, I knew I had hit the nail on the head. The silence screamed louder than any words could have. Tell me the truth, Jessica. How long has this been going on? I demanded, my anger bubbling over. I could feel the heat radiating off me like a furnace fueled by betrayal. It's not what you think. She shot back, her eyes starting to glisten with unshed tears. I've been stressed with work, okay? Tom is just a friend, a distraction. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Her eyes darted away as she spoke, avoiding my gaze. The lies were woven so tightly together that I could almost see the fabric unraveling. You think I'm going to just throw everything away, our life together? You know I wouldn't do that. I was furious, but beneath that fury was a profound sadness. I had invested so much into this relationship, and now it felt like she was just tossing it all aside. So it was. Just a fling, huh? And how many friends have you told that to? My voice dripped with sarcasm. I swear it was just one time, she insisted, her voice rising in desperation. You have to believe me, I love you. Love, what did that even mean now? The word felt hollow. If you loved me, you wouldn't be sneaking around. You wouldn't have to lie to me. I ran a hand through my hair, feeling lost. I wanted to scream, to shake some sense into her, but I was torn between anger and heartbreak. Jessica tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled away, recoiling from the touch that used to comfort me. Don't. I couldn't handle her trying to play the victim now. She had made her choice. The tears she had been holding back spilled over and she looked genuinely hurt, but I was too consumed by my own pain to care. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and utterly lost. I needed space to think, to process. I needed to figure out what came next. I can't believe you would do this to me, I said quietly. The disappointment in my voice seemed to hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. Please, Ben, she begged, her voice shaky. I'll fix this, I promise, just give me another chance, I'll make it right. But the words felt empty. I had been through this before, the promises, the excuses. It was clear that her need for validation from someone else had taken precedence over our commitment. She wanted me to snap, to explode with rage, but instead I felt this cold resolve forming inside me. I needed to take control of my life from here on out. As I turned away from her pleading eyes, I felt a sense of determination settle in. I wouldn't let her define me or dictate how this would unfold. I would rewrite the narrative. I just didn't know how yet, but I would find a way. The night dragged on in an agonizing silence as I tried to process everything that had just happened. Jessica was on the couch, her face buried in her hands, sobbing quietly. I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of clarity wash over me. I couldn't stay in this limbo, trapped in her web of lies and deceit. I needed a plan, something to regain control over my life. I spent the rest of the night pacing our bedroom, my mind racing. What was I going to do? Part of me wanted to throw her out and never look back, but another part of me wondered if there was a way to salvage this. Could we go back to what we once had? Would I even want to? The idea of starting over felt daunting, especially after investing so much into our marriage. As dawn broke, I made my decision. I wasn't going to let her off easy. I was going to make her see the consequences of her actions. This wasn't just about punishing her. It was about holding her accountable for the betrayal that shattered my trust. I needed to make her realize what she stood to lose and who she was hurting. The first step was to gather evidence. I had seen the text from Tom, but I needed more. I needed concrete proof of their affair, so I started snooping. It felt wrong at first, invading her privacy like this, but I was desperate to uncover the truth. I knew her phone password, so I unlocked it and began scrolling through her messages. My heart raced as I sifted through the exchanges with Tom. What I found was gut-wrenching. The texts were filled with flirty banter, inside jokes, and plans to meet up. They had been meeting regularly. There were even photos, not explicit, but enough to make my stomach churn. How could she so easily share intimate pieces of her life with another man while pretending everything was fine with me? I felt sick, but I pushed through the bile rising in my throat. I had what I needed. I screenshot everything and saved it on my phone. This wasn't just for me. It would serve as a reminder that I wouldn't let her manipulate me any longer. When Jessica eventually woke up, I was already dressed for work, my mind racing with anticipation. "You're going to work?" she asked, her voice laced with a mixture of exhaustion and guilt. "Yeah, I need to get some things done," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "But we need to talk later. I thought we could work things out, you said." She started, but I cut her off. "I need to clear my head first," I said, grabbing my keys. I wasn't going to let her play the victim anymore. She had her chance to come clean, and she didn't. Now it was time for me to take the wheel. At work, all I could think about was the confrontation that awaited us later. I didn't want to go in all guns blazing out of anger. Instead, I wanted this to be purposeful, a way to reclaim my dignity and, frankly, give her a taste of her own medicine. I spent the day strategizing every word, every potential reaction she might have. When I finally came home that evening, I was surprised to find Jessica pacing the living room, her anxiety palpable. "Ben, I've been thinking," she started, her voice shaky. "I know I messed up, but I can change. I will change. I'll do whatever it takes. Just tell me what you want me to do." I held up a hand to stop her. "We're not doing this. You've already made your choice," I said, my voice steady. "You chose Tom over me, over us. I'm done pretending everything is fine. Please just give me a chance to explain," she pleaded, stepping closer. "No more explanations," I said firmly. "I've seen your texts, Jessica. I know everything. You think you can just apologize your way back into my life." I watched her expression shift from panic to realization. "Ben, wait. You weren't supposed to see those. I can explain." She stammered, her facade crumbling. I felt a surge of power in that moment. "No, you don't get to explain. You don't get to manipulate the situation anymore. You had your chance to come clean and you chose to lie. Please just listen to me," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "Why? So you can weave more lies. I need you to understand the gravity of what you've done. This isn't just a mistake, Jessica. This is a betrayal." I paused, letting my words sink in. "You've strung me along for too long, and I deserve better." Her sobs filled the room, a mixture of genuine remorse and panic. For the first time, I felt like I had the upper hand in this situation. "What do you want?" she finally asked, her voice small and broken. "I want you to feel the weight of your choices," I said. "I'm not saying we're done just yet, but you need to understand that this isn't something I'm going to forgive easily. Please, we can work on this. I'll cut ties with Tom, I swear," she exclaimed, desperation evident in her eyes. I took a deep breath, feeling the resolve solidify within me. "Here's the deal. I need time to think. I'm not making any decisions right now, but don't think I'll just forget this. I want you to reflect on what you've done and understand what you stand to lose." That was my boundary. I needed her to see the consequences of her actions without me coddling her through it. I had to rewire everything, and with that, I knew I was on the right path to reclaiming my life. The days turned into weeks, and the initial shock of Jessica's betrayal morphed into a heavy cloud of uncertainty that hung over our home. I felt a mix of apprehension and determination. The confrontation had shaken both of us, but I needed to make it clear that her actions could not go unanswered. Jessica had promised to cut all ties with Tom, and while she was trying to prove herself, I could see the strain in her efforts. She was more attentive, cooking meals, and trying to plan outings like we used to, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was all an act. Each time she reached out to me, I felt like I was being pulled into a dance I no longer wanted to participate in. I was still processing my emotions and deciding what I truly wanted, but I couldn't let her see that I was wavering. I had started keeping a journal, jotting down my feelings and thoughts throughout this process. Each entry was like a little therapy session, a way to untangle the mess of emotions swirling in my mind. One day, I wrote, "I want to forgive her, but can I ever really trust her again? Can you rebuild a house on a cracked foundation?" The entries helped me sort through my feelings, but they also reminded me of how fragile trust is. I was still angry, and while I could see Jessica was genuinely remorseful, I couldn't ignore what she had done. She had shattered the trust we built together, and I was beginning to realize I needed to make a decision soon. One evening, as I sat on the couch with my journal, Jessica approached me, her demeanor more serious than I had seen in a while. "Can we talk?" she asked softly, taking a seat next to me. I put my pen down, instinctively bracing myself. Sure, what's on your mind? I want to apologize again, she started, her voice trembling. I know I hurt you and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm committed to making this right. I've even considered seeing a therapist to work through this. I studied her, trying to gauge her sincerity. You think therapy will fix everything? I asked, skepticism creeping into my tone. It's a start. I just want you to know that I don't want to lose you, she replied, her eyes pleading. I've realized how much I value our relationship, and I never want to hurt you like that again. I nodded slowly but remained guarded. You say that, but it's hard to really believe it right now. Trust is not something that can be repaired overnight. I know, I understand, she said, her voice cracking. But I want to show you that I can change. I'll do whatever it takes. The conversation simmered down as I weighed her words against my feelings. I wanted to believe her, but I had to be cautious. I needed to see real changes, not just empty promises. I remembered the plan I had formed. I needed to push her to prove herself. Okay, I finally said. If you're serious about this, I want you to document your process. Journal your feelings, your progress, and let me see it. I want to know you're committed. Jessica's eyes lit up with a mix of relief and determination. I can do that. I will do that, she responded, her voice steady. As the weeks went by, she began writing in her journal and even shared some of her entries with me. I saw glimpses of vulnerability, her reflections on why she had strayed and the fear of losing me. But with each entry, I found it harder to shake the nagging voice in my head that warned me not to get too comfortable too quickly. I began to notice a shift in our dynamic. She was trying harder, and I was starting to feel guilty for holding onto my anger. It was a strange push and pull, a battle between my desire to forgive and my need for self-preservation. My emotional journey was complicated. I wanted to believe she could change, but I also feared I would get hurt again. One night as I was winding down after a long day, I caught Jessica staring at me from across the room. Are you okay? I asked, noticing the frown etched on her face. I'm just worried, she admitted, her voice soft. I feel like you're still very distant. I don't want you to feel like you have to keep your guard up with me. I'm trying to process everything, Jess. It's not easy for me, I said, feeling a pang of guilt for the walls I had built. I'm not sure how to let go of the past. Her expression turned earnest. I wish I could take back everything I've done. I never meant to hurt you. I just want us to get back to where we were. In that moment, I realized I missed what we had too. I missed the laughter, the intimacy, the little things that made our relationship special. But could I really go back? A part of me longed for that connection, but the other part warned me to tread carefully. Maybe we need to rediscover each other, I said cautiously. But it's going to take time. I'm not ready to dive back into what we had without knowing we can build a new foundation. Jessica nodded, and I could see her resolve harden. I'm committed to doing the work. I'll do whatever it takes to prove myself to you. That was the moment I realized I had to formulate my next step. I couldn't let my feelings for her cloud my judgment, nor could I allow my anger to eclipse my hope for healing. I needed to create a plan that involved both of us. It wasn't just about punishment. It was about understanding and growth for both of us. I decided it was time to sit down, set some boundaries, and communicate my expectations. Clearly, this was as much a test for her as it was a path for us to rediscover trust. I had to make her realize that this wasn't just about her making amends. It was about both of us learning to navigate this new terrain together. It was time to confront the reality of our situation, to rewire everything, and see if we could find our way back to each other, stronger than before. As I sat at the kitchen table, I felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. I had been thinking long and hard about how to approach this conversation with Jessica. The time had come to lay out clear boundaries and expectations moving forward, not just for her, but for me as well. I wanted to ensure that we had a solid plan to rebuild our relationship, one that would foster honesty and accountability. I could hear her moving around the house, and that familiar sense of anxiety began to wash over me. Would she be receptive to what I had to say? Would she truly understand the depth of her betrayal and the impact it had on me? I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. Jessica entered the kitchen, the stress of the past weeks etched on her face. "Hey, are we still on for our talk?" she asked, her voice tinged with apprehension. "Yeah, I think it's time we sit down and have an honest discussion," I replied, gesturing for her to take a seat. She nodded and plopped down across from me, her hands fidgeting nervously on the table. "I've been thinking a lot about everything," she said, her eyes searching mine for reassurance. "I want to show you that I'm committed to fixing things." "I appreciate that, Jess," I said, trying to maintain a calm demeanor. "But I need to clarify a few things first. We can't just brush this under the rug and pretend everything is fine. You've broken my trust, and that's going to take time to rebuild." "I know that," she replied earnestly. "I'm willing to put in the effort. I just need you to tell me what you need from me." I leaned forward, choosing my words carefully. "First and foremost, I need transparency. No more secrets. If you're feeling tempted to reach out to Tom or anyone else, I need you to come to me first. I can't handle surprises anymore." "Of course," she said quickly, nodding. "I promise I will be completely open with you from now on. Second, I want you to keep journaling, share your entries with me. It's important for me to see how you're processing this and what steps you're taking to change." Her eyes lit up with relief. "I can do that. I've actually written a lot more over the past week, and I want to share it with you." "Good. But I also want us to spend quality time together," I continued. "Let's plan regular date nights, even if it's just cooking dinner together or going for a walk. I need to see that you're willing to invest in our relationship again." Jessica smiled. "I would love that. I've missed our time together. I'll make it a priority." "Lastly," I said, my voice firm, "if this is going to work, I need to see that you're taking responsibility for your actions. I want you to apologize to me genuinely, not just as a way to ease your guilt, but to show that you truly understand the pain you caused." Her expression shifted, and I could see her processing this request. "You're right. I need to acknowledge how much I hurt you. I'll do it, I promise." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the conversation settling in. "I think that's a good start," I said, feeling slightly more at ease. "But I also need to be honest about my feelings. I'm still hurt, and I don't want to pretend that everything is okay when it's not." "I get that," she said softly. "It's going to take time, and I'm willing to be patient. I just want to prove to you that I can be the partner you deserve." Her sincerity was refreshing, but I still needed to be cautious. "I hope you mean that, because I can't keep going around in circles. I need to know I'm not just a safety net for you." "I promise, Ben, I won't let you down again," she said, her voice earnest. As our conversation progressed, I could feel a shift in the atmosphere. It was the first time since the discovery of her infidelity that I felt a small glimmer of hope. We discussed our plans for the weeks to come, the importance of communication, and how we could both work on ourselves individually while still being together. After we wrapped up our conversation, Jessica took a deep breath, looking relieved yet still emotional. "Thank you for being willing to talk. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'll show you that I'm committed to making this work." I nodded, still processing my own feelings. "I want to believe you, but it's going to take time. I need to see the changes in action." As weeks turned into months, I watched Jessica commit to her personal growth. She went to therapy, stuck to her journaling, and made a concerted effort to reconnect with me. We started planning regular date nights, and slowly, I began to feel the walls I had built around my heart start to crumble. But then, just as I was beginning to let my guard down, something happened that changed everything once again. I received a call from a blocked number one night while Jessica was out with friends. My gut told me to answer it. "Hello," I said, unsure of who was on the other end. "Ben, it's Tom," a familiar voice said, cold and confident. My heart sank. This was the moment I had dreaded, the moment I had tried to prepare myself for. "What do you want?" I snapped, anger boiling inside me. "I think you need to hear what Jessica has been telling me," he said, his tone dripping with smugness. I felt my palms grow clammy. "What are you talking about?" "Let's just say she hasn't been as honest with you as you think." As he began to unravel a web of lies that Jessica had spun, I realized that I was standing at a crucial crossroads. Would I continue to fight for the relationship I once cherished, or was this the final straw that would push me to walk away for good? I felt my breath catch as Tom continued to speak. His voice was smooth and calculated, and every word felt like a blow to my gut. You deserve to know the truth. Jessica hasn't been completely honest with you about her feelings for me. She's still been in contact with me more than you realize. I clenched my fists, fighting against the rising tide of rage and betrayal. What do you mean? I demanded, my voice shaking. She's still been texting me, saying that she's confused about her feelings, that she still thinks about me, he replied. You think she's committed to making things work with you. I'm just saying, don't let her fool you. I could feel my heart racing as anger mixed with disbelief. How could she do this again, after everything? I thought we were on the path to rebuilding trust. You're lying, I said, but my voice wavered. Deep down, I was terrified that he was telling the truth. I have screenshots, Ben. I can send them to you if you'd like. Just know that she's still playing both sides, he said, his voice taunting. I hung up the phone, my head spinning. The gravity of the situation crashed down on me like a wave, pulling me under. I felt sick to my stomach, my world spiraling out of control once again. I needed to confront Jessica. I couldn't wait any longer. She had lied to me repeatedly, and now it seemed like everything I had worked so hard to rebuild was slipping away. When she returned home, I was waiting for her in the living room, my heart pounding. The moment she walked through the door, I could see the confusion wash over her face. Ben, what's wrong? Where have you been? I asked, my voice low and steady, though my pulse raced. Just out with the girls. What's going on? She replied, sensing the tension in the air. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. I just got a call from Tom. Her expression froze, the color draining from her face. What? Why would he call you? Because he wanted me to know the truth about your commitment to me, I said, my voice growing firmer. He said you've been in contact with him, that you still have feelings for him. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I could see the panic rising in her eyes. That's not true, I swear. I have cut ties with him completely. She pleaded, desperation spilling from her voice. Then why would he say that? Why would he call me just to stir trouble? I countered, feeling the anger boiling over again. Did you really think you could continue lying to me? How many times do you expect me to give you the benefit of the doubt, Jessica? I didn't mean to, she stammered, tears welling up in her eyes. I thought it was over. I thought I could move on from him. Thought it was over. That doesn't change what happened. You've betrayed my trust again. I shouted, my frustration boiling over. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I thought I could handle it, but I could. She cried, her voice breaking. I love you, Ben. I'm trying to make it right. Love, you call this love? You've made me feel like a fool. You've wasted my time and emotions. I yelled, pacing around the room. As I glanced at her, the tears rolling down her cheeks pulled at my heart, but I couldn't allow myself to feel pity. I took a step back, feeling the weight of the situation press down on me. I can't do this anymore, Jessica. How can I believe anything you say when you've continued this charade? No, please don't say that, she begged, reaching out for me. I'll do whatever it takes, just give me one more chance. I shook my head, feeling my resolve harden. It's too late for that. You've had your chances. You've proven you can't be trusted. I turned away from her, my heart aching but my mind clear. I had to protect myself. I had given her the opportunity to prove herself, and she had only let me down further. I couldn't keep going back and forth with someone who couldn't prioritize our relationship. Ben, please, she sobbed. I can change. I looked at her one last time, seeing how shattered she was, but also recognizing that I could not be her safety net any longer. I need to take care of myself now. I can't keep letting you drag me down. I walked out of the living room, feeling an odd sense of calm settle over me. I grabbed my car keys and headed for the door. I'm leaving, I said, my voice steady. I need space. Where are you going? She called after me, panic etched across her features. I don't know yet, I replied, but I'll be back for my things. As I stepped outside, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. I had taken control of my life, something I had been too afraid to do for too long. I didn't need to remain tied to a relationship that made me feel inadequate and betrayed. Over the next few weeks, I focused on healing and rediscovering who I was without her. I spent time with friends and family, diving into hobbies that brought me joy, and reflecting on what I wanted for my future. Gradually, the fog of heartbreak began to lift, and I realized I was strong enough to move on. In the end, I learned that love doesn't mean accepting betrayal, and that sometimes letting go is the healthiest choice. I had given everything I could to our relationship, but it was time to prioritize myself. I wished Jessica the best, but I knew I was ready to start a new chapter, one where my happiness came first.